best pain control option for your labor will likely be a combination strategy. So currently, the vast majority of women do choose an epidural, and it is really effective at eliminating pain. But it's not always as magical as it might seem, and it's not the only option. Now, if you're like most people, you've probably heard someone say, you've got to take the epidural. It's the best thing ever. And that might be the case for you, but you might want to choose a combination strategy. The good news is it's not choose an epidural or suffer. There's actually a lot of options and things to consider that I'm going to be sharing with you, such that by the end of this video, you're going to be super informed of your options, be able to create your own game plan on what you would choose first, second, third. And my hope is that you're going to find this so helpful that you're going to want to be the first person to share this video with your Reddit bump group. Let's start by tackling our 3 medication options for pain relief in labor. We've got the epidural, we have IV narcotics, they're also called opioids, and then we have nitrous oxide, which you might have heard called laughing gas, or gas and air if you're watching Call the Midwife. So the epidural and IV narcotics are widely available, but nitrous oxide is just now making a comeback at hospitals in the US. So if you're interested in this, check with your healthcare provider to see if that's an option. It might not be in your area yet. You can always give a call to your hospital or birth center to find out about it. Of these 3 medication options, the epidural is by far the most popular, with about 70 to 80% of people choosing it. And IV narcotics and nitrous oxide, the numbers are a little bit harder to find, but we're looking at maybe 30% of women or lower for each of those options. When it comes to effectiveness of reducing pain, the epidural, it's really the clear winner. What the epidural does is it numbs your body from about your bra line to your toes. And that numbing sensation actually reduces greatly the feeling of contractions. So when you are feeling contractions, you start feeling them less and less, and sometimes people don't feel them at all when they have an epidural. Now, unlike the epidural, IV narcotics, opioids, they do not eliminate the pain sensation. Instead, they cause a relaxation effect, and they reduce the perception of the pain. So IV narcotics are often referred to as an option to take the edge off the pain. I like to compare it to doing a few shots of tequila quickly. So people still experience the pain, but they're more relaxed. They tend to not care about the pain as much. And then nitrous oxide, when it's breathed in, it relaxes you and it alters the perception of pain. Now, when it comes to speed of pain relief, from the time that it's requested to the time that you feel relief, the epidural is really the slowest in this. The process of getting an epidural involves getting a full bag of IV fluid prior to the procedure, having an anesthesiologist available. It's my experience that this process usually takes about an hour, like give or take, from the moment that you request the epidural to the time that you are actually feeling the effects. This timing can vary depending on your hospital policies, any unique circumstances, and the actual procedure of the epidural, though, is fairly fast, about 15 to 20 minutes, from the time the anesthesiologist walks into the room to the time that you are starting to feel the effects and reducing that pain from the contraction. IV narcotics, on the other hand, is very quick acting. So once given, the effects are felt almost immediately. And from the time that you request it to the time that you get it is usually fairly quick. So it is given right through your IV and very quick acting. So nitrous oxide, or laughing gas, it takes effect really a few breaths after you start breathing it, and it's fairly quick acting. The unknown is how quickly your birthing location can get the nitrous oxide set up for you. So this varies greatly from location to location. So far we've talked about popularity and effectiveness, and I think the next question that a lot of people have is about the baby and whether or not these options have any effect on baby. So the epidural, it does not cross the placenta, meaning it doesn't have an effect on baby's heart rate, baby's respiratory rate. IV narcotics, however, do cross the placenta, and they can cause drowsiness, they can cause respiratory distress in the baby. Where I've really seen people get caught off guard by this is when they're offered something to take the edge off. It isn't described as a narcotic, and so they agree to have the medication to take the edge off. And then all of a sudden, they notice on their monitor that it shows some effects from the IV narcotics. And I've seen people get upset about that, not knowing and feeling a little bit tricked. So just know something that takes an edge off does have side effects and risks. And that includes risks and possible risks to the baby. And babies exposed to IV narcotics during labor might have to be monitored more closely after the birth. Nitrous oxide is very similar to the epidural. It does not have a negative effect on the baby. So another difference with these 3 options that we need to cover is the timing of when you're able to use these options and their availability. So epidurals are only available in a hospital setting. And in most cases, epidurals can be given as soon as you're admitted into the hospital for your labor. Now, there are some hospitals that have policies that maybe want you to wait until you are at a certain dilation before giving an epidural, but I think this is pretty rare. Most hospitals also do not have a time that's too late for the epidural. However, they're likely not going to give you an epidural if your baby is like about to be born or, crowning. Now, IV narcotics, they are only available in a hospital setting as well. They can be given throughout the labor, but the risk to the baby increases when they're given close to when the baby's going to be born. They're also generally less effective closer to the birth. Nitrous oxide is available at some hospitals, some birth centers, and some home births. Now, the availability of those, it varies really quite a bit throughout the U.S. Nitrous oxide, though, can be used throughout labor. In the discussion about pain management options, the part that's often missed is what do we do before we get to the hospital, before the birth center? And what do we do if our choice for pain management just doesn't work? Does this mean that we just have to resign ourselves to pain and suffering? And the good news is that you don't. And you might not know that there are other options that are available, a whole set of options for pain management that we can choose before we get, say, an epidural, during we pick an epidural or another pain option, and after. So a student in my childbirth class recently shared how excited she was to learn about these other options for pain management because it was her desire to get an epidural as soon as possible. That's what she wanted. But she was really worried about what does she do when she goes into labor at home until she can get the epidural for pain relief. And she thought that she was just going to be suffering until she got the epidural, until she learned that there were other options. Now, the technical term for these options are non-pharmacologic pain management options for labor. Each of these options provide limited pain relief, of course, but they do provide relief. Now, I recommend layering several of these techniques together, combining them to get the most out of them. So, okay, picture this. You're in the shower. You're listening to music in a dark bathroom, only lit with battery-operated candles. Your partner's right beside you for support. You are intentionally breathing. You're using vocalization while you're leaning forward. You're resting on the handrails of the shower. You're rocking your hips from side to side, and you're visualizing with your eyes closed that walk you take with your dog every morning. So that example right there is layering up lots of tools for labor. Now imagine a scenario where maybe your epidural isn't working well. It's only providing relief maybe on one side of your body, and this is something that can happen in labor. So if this happens, you can layer some of these techniques with the epidural. When the contraction comes, you can intentionally use breath. You can use vocalization, close your eyes, and visualize your walk with your dog. Now, these non-pharmacologic options can still be used to help even after you have an epidural. So I want you to be able to choose from both the pharmacologic options and the non-pharmacologic options to create a plan for pain relief that's really right for you. Now, if you're interested in learning more about these tools, I've included a link down below to the childbirth class that I teach. And if these examples have really got you thinking more about your preferences for labor, then hit the like button and let me know. If you found this video helpful, I suggest sharing it with your partner, your friend, your bump group. Now, I'm going to include a video right here that I know you're going to enjoy as you get your plans and preferences together for birth. Now, special thanks out there if you are a subscriber of the channel. I really appreciate your support, and I will see you guys all next time. Bye.